Hi, Brad here again from West Jordan, Utah. We've got another tranny for us. Looks like we got an RE5RO5A. This is out of a Nissan 2006. We'll go through this and kind of show you the steps to go, things to watch for. First, let's get it apart. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all the external stuff that I can. Hoses, levers, and I'll take the front and the rear bell housing off. There is a clip right here that holds the connector in. If you need to pull that off, I'll give you a closer look. If you see that clip right there, you need to get that clip off so you don't damage or try to pry it through with that on it. I've seen people do that. So make sure you remove this clip. Just like that. The lever taken off here. Careful with removing the nut on this. Sometimes if it gets really rusty, you'll end up breaking the shaft off, which is not a really good thing to do. Because then you have to replace the nylon linkage. We'll take the front bell housing off here. We'll move it around. Take the rear bell housing off. There are some that are deep in the pocket. I'll have to get an extension. Pull that off. Looks like our linkage tried to come with it. Our part kit tried to come with it. Now on the back of here, there is a bearing for the output shaft, and there's a race. Now if you notice, this will pull right out. There's another bearing behind it. And we've got the output shaft, park ring gear. Around the bottom here, we have a output speed sensor, which we will disconnect or undo, so when we take the pan off, we can take it out. I would suggest replacing this. It's easier to do it now than it is in the vehicle. Alright, we'll get this rolled over. I'm going to hurry and take the O-ring off for the torque converter, and it is flat. This does not smell very good. So if you notice, there's a band adjustment right up here. We're just going to leave that alone for right now. Yeah, this one stinks. Be lucky you can't smell this one. Not too bad. Got a little bit of stuff in the bottom of it. Apparently this had, and it's pretty common, this had a radiator fail and water got into the transmission, which ruins a whole bunch of things. So now on the valve body, there's certain things we need to take off. We'll get this little green plug. This went to the sensor in back, and we will get a new one and put a new one in it. Everything else we can pretty much leave on because it's part of it. The computer is part of the valve body, so I'll explain the valve body later. Once we get going, I'll get a close up here and show you which bolts you need to take off and which bolts you do not need to take off. Alright, going across the back, take these 4 off right here. Across the front, these 2. The one next to it, that one, not the one straight up. A little too close. Not the one straight up here, but the one off to the side over here. And then these 3, I believe. And that, let's get these out of here. That should take the valve body off. If memory serves right, maybe not. Nope. This one. It's hard about these. They don't really tell you which ones. Oh, there you go. So I just missed these 2 right here. Now, push your plug through, if I can get it. Get a little hammer to tap it through. If you ever have to tap a plug out, always use a rubber mallet or a dead blow. You don't want to use a still one. You will damage it. Even though this is going to be replaced, you still want to do this. Now there's our valve body assembly. You can see the computer on the bottom of it, and all the solenoids. Since this one had water in it, it contaminates and destroys all your solenoids, your speed sensors. We'll set this off to the side, and I'll kind of go through what you have to do with that a little later. Now, as you can see, there's a servo right here. Servos for the band. We need to get that out. Okay. Always seems to fight you, doesn't it? Especially when you're filming. Servo out. We'll take the O-rings off here in a little bit, but you can see how that goes together. Now on the back here, let's see if you can see it. There are 3 Torx. This holds the rear support in. Might as well get these out now. They are a 45 Torx set. These out of the way, just like that. They all have little washers. They shouldn't come off. Sometimes some models might come off, so watch that when you're doing that. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to take the manual lever out, or linkage out. There's a roll pin here, and the position holder, or the rooster comb, and then there's a little pin right here we need to get out. What you want to do is get a pair of dikes and pull the roll pin out if you can. Sometimes these are a bear to get out. Alright, there's that. Yep. What we're going to do is take the retainer off. It's got a little pin on one side and the bolt. Now we'll get the roll pin out of this side. Just enough for it to come out. Here's my roll pin. And then we'll carefully pull the linkage out. Okay. Now you can take, there'll be a seal on each side. One on this side and one over here. You need to replace those every time. Now you can't screw this up. It only goes in one direction, so we'll be good there. All right, we'll do the pump now. Okay, we repositioned everything. I'm going to get the pump out now. First thing I'm going to do is carefully take this seal out. Then we're going to remove all the pump bolts. And they are a 14. Get these out. We'll have to clean them off. If you notice, there's silicone all over them, because you got to put a little silicone on here when you build them together. They don't have washers or O-rings or anything, so we'll leave these off to the side to clean them up. Okay, what I have is 2 bolts. If you notice, there's threads right in here. I just put these in a little bit. And I've got a slide hammer with vice grip set up. We'll put these at the end. Just lightly pull it out. Just like so. Got our pump out. forward. I'll get the O-ring off. We've got little Allens in here we need to take off. I believe they're 4s. Oh, excuse me. They're 5mm. And we will take off and always make sure you get the damn thing all the way down before you turn it. Now, if you notice there's a washer here, I'm going to set this right here for a minute, and then we'll talk about that in the thrust washers here in a minute. And be able to, should, doesn't mean it will happen. There. Tap that down. Take a look at our pump, make sure there's no, you don't want to see any wear marks here because this is aluminum. That's where the gears ride. This is nice and smooth, it looks good. We want to check our gears, make sure they look good. They look excellent. They look almost brand new. And we will remove this bushing here. We can always replace the pump bushing. Unfortunately, we can't get all the bushings for this tranny, so this is probably the only one that we will replace. I'll take this O-ring off. Alright, get this out of the way. If you notice on the back, there's no rings on here. This does not seal against anything. You want to check your surface here and make sure there's no wear marks. Make sure your bearing's good in here. Okay, if you're not used to the order of the thrust washers on how they go, what I do is when I remove them one at a time. Especially with trannies you're not familiar with and you don't do a lot of. I do them one at a time and then I stick them on a hook in the exact order that they come off. So when I'll clean them and I'll put them right back on that exact same way. So what I'll do is I'll take these off. I'll kind of show you how I do it if I'm not familiar with it. I can throw these in a bucket, but I'm going to show you a different way to do it so you don't get these messed up. So I take these, if you look, I got a hook right here. I'll put those right on the hook and I'll slowly stack all my bearings on here so I know how they come off or how they go back on when I'm putting it back together. Alright, now there is a drum. This is for the brake. There's another bearing. Set there on our hook. You want to inspect all of this. There is a scrap right inside of here. Take this out. Snap ring. Now this sprag assembly only has one brass race on it. Okay. Check the inside here and make sure it's in good shape. Now what I always do is keep this together just like this with the snap ring, then I won't get this messed up. So I'll always put it on with that with the brass on the right side, and we'll double check it when we get done. Set that off to the side. Now we'll pull the input drum out. Take our band out, and you see the band has got some pretty good wear mark on it. Now here, there is a snap ring right here on the inside, as you can see, hopefully, that we need to get this, we push this in so we can get this planted off, which is not the easiest thing to do. There probably is a really cool trick, but I'm not really sure what it is because I haven't had the luxury of doing quite a few of these in a row. I only see one of these every like 6 months, and by the time you do another one, you've forgotten everything you've done before. Like anything, you want to check to make sure they're nice and tight. They spin free. We're looking good here. Now, there is a washer and a bearing. Now we'll put this on this side. Pull that out. This is your ring gear. You want to check this out and make sure there's no teeth missing on here. Looking good, and we've got burnt clutches. Now if you notice, there's no washer here, but there is a half of one on the other side. So this bearing actually runs on that input drum. So that's why it's good to put everything in order so you don't get things screwed up. This is the input clutch. And as you can see, it is burnt. It is fried. So we'll see how many more clutches are. If I get a few more, quite a few more clutches that are burnt, I will replace all the stills in it. There are O-ring or Teflons on here. Get off. Shouldn't really say Teflons, they're the new style. Boy, and I can't see these. There you go. They're this style. If you can see that. It has the little cutaway in it. Pull all these off. Okay, what we're going to do is get the piston out. Wow, this is a little bit big. We'll see if we can get it though. Only have to go over to the arbor press. There you go. Alright. Take that off. Piston, spring, and we have an aluminum valve, or aluminum piston. Get this out. Look at that good. Now what I do is I always put, especially when you don't have things memorized, I always put the snap rings back where they go and wash them in there. That way I'm not confused and I'm not second guessing myself on which one goes where. So I've got that apart. Of course, we really replace these. You always replace your bonded pistons. And I'll remove the seals here. You want to check your piston for cracks. Make sure there's not any. Doesn't look like there is any. Especially if something was burned up, you want to check to make sure it's not cracked. And there you go. Alright, after the input drum, let's Stick your finger right down the center of the hole. Oh, you got to plant it. Again, there's a thrust washer on the outside. There's not a thrust washer on the inside. You want to check your planet. All good there. And grab your next ring. And remember, there was a thrust washer, so there's a race on this side since this is the aluminum. So keep them in order. Want to check to make sure there's no marks here. No wear marks on it. Turn it over. Oh, there's a bearing there. Put it in order. Check this planet out. Next piece. Set that off to the side. You know what this is? This is a shaft, and there's a sprag on the end of this. You can see it when it goes one way, it locks the opposite direction. Now this is the tricky part. We had it this way, right? We want to make sure we keep the bearings in the right order. There's a bearing and a race. And on the inside, there's another race. So we'll keep all these together. Now right down here, there's a snap ring that holds this together. If you notice, it's quite loose. It goes up and down quite a bit. That's normal. Snapping off. It's pretty stout. Put that off to the side and see if I want to put it back on. Your gear. There's another bearing under there. The other sprag. Want to check your pipe, your sun gear out here and make sure it's not worn off too much. If it's got any wear marks on it, you need to replace it, and you have to remove all your seals right there, which I'll do in a minute. Put the bearing up there, and I'll remove sprag in here. Again, this only has one thrust or one washer. I'm going to keep that on the side that it needs to. Put the ring with it. It is a different size than this one, so you can't get them mixed up. You want to check the inside. Make sure that it's in good shape. Make sure there's no divots in it. And I think just for the hell of it, I will put this back on. Just because. And these have the same style as the input drum. And sometimes they can be a pain to get on. And I will do that. Next drum. The snap ring. And the clutches. I always keep them in order. These are pretty good. Not burnt. We'll press the ring out. There's a bearing right there on the back of it. Get this so. Alright, after you get the snap ring out, get the body piston out, and there's another aluminum piston just like the other one. I take my pliers, put them between the holes where the spring's going. Since this is aluminum, you really want to watch this for cracks and stuff, but since the clutches weren't burnt, probably no cracks. You want to check where your rings ride, make sure there's no grooves in here. They're looking good there. Again, you want to replace this bonded piston. And we'll get seal out of here. What I'm going to do is, again, I'm not familiar with putting the snap ring back. It's just a lot easier that way. Alright, this pulls out. The next drum. This one's burnt. Yeah, this one's pretty good. Don't remember which one this one is. Direct. Don't quote me on that. I gotta remember it. As I said, I don't do these often to have them memorized. We'll check this really good for cracks. This has a metal sleeve inserted in it for the seals ride, and this looks good. We'll get the piston out. Again, we'll replace that. Another aluminum piston. Use your pliers to get down the spring holes. Wow, this doesn't want to move. Let's see if we can get it out the old-fashioned way. You want to check, again, really good to see if there's a crack in here. Sometimes you might have to wait till it gets out of the washer before you actually see a crack, so we'll double check that when we get done. We'll get our sealing rings off. There's 2 on the outside, 2 on the inside. And again, to make things easier, the snap rings back in it. Alright. Dump this a little bit so get some of the fluid to come out. Now, as you can see inside here, there's a snap ring. The clutch is on the outside. We'll get that out. Snap ring. Clutches. These look like they're in really good shape. If you look, it's got a clutch and you've got a wavy and a dish plate. Always keep them in order, that way you know you put it back in order and you put it back right. Snap ring in there. Now, there's another snap ring down here. See, there's a snap ring down there that's holding the spring in and the piston. We'll get that out, and if you notice there is a Torrington bearing, and we'll get that out and put it on our peg. If you can see, I don't know if you can, there is a anti-rattle clip for the clutches. Whoop, that we just took out. Anti-rattle clip that we'll have to put in. We'll get that out. If you look at it, this is a really thin one. It goes against the plate and the spring. Now, there's another snap ring right under it, and this is a huge, thick one. We'll get that one out. Oh, if I remember right, that's right. See, I keep forgetting. I got to pull this piston out so the snap ring can come far enough out to actually come out. So I'll get some needle nose and pull that out. There's our Torrington bearing. Seals off. Remember, check for cracks. Now we've got enough room to get this snap ring out. What the snap ring holds is the center support. Those 3 bolts that we took out of the bottom. Sometimes I think the engineers see how thick a damn snap ring they can get in here and have us get out so far down in the case. This will be a beveled snap ring. Means it has to go in one direction. We'll keep the support in, pressure on it. If you look at it, this is quite thick, and it's beveled, so the bevel goes up. Now let's see if we can slowly. You gotta hold your mouth just right to get these to come out. Again, Torrington bearing, put on our little step. Sealing rings, we'll take those off in a minute. Now I got another sprag in the bottom. 3 sprags in this unit. Again, we want to take it apart. Make sure it's nice and clean, make sure there's no marks on it. If you look at, there's a small thrust washer. Sits on like that. I'll probably keep this sprag. You notice this one has 2. Okay? Bottom, top. Bottom's got a little bit of a ridge, so it sits on properly. So I will take the snap ring off this direction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark, put a scratch in this so I know that this is top. I'm going to keep it all together so I know which way this goes back in. Just like so. Keep that just like that when I wash it. Thrust washer with it. And check this one out too. Oh, we are in pretty good shape here. A couple of little teeny marks. Can't feel them. I'll take a little bit of Scotch-Brite and yeah, they just, you touch them and they come right off. So there's no marks there. We're good. There's 2 sets of clutches. You can see the snap ring. We'll get that out next. There's also, oh, those are pretty burnt. Wavy. And there's no other snap ring, so these other set of clutches come right out. Put them on top so keep it. So I've got 2 set of clutches that are good and 4 or 5 that are burnt. So I'll probably just end up putting a still kit in this. By the time you do that many stills separately, it's cheaper to buy a still kit and replace them all. Put it in there. Now we need to get the piston out of the bottom here. I'll kind of show you how to do that. Well, as you can see, we got it set up here. Snapping now. This is a standard spring compressor for a 4L60E. This will fit down in the bottom of here. My tings are open on this side. Fits in just like that. Right on the top one. You have to screw it all the way down, but that's all right. Just like so. Oh, look, we missed a bearing too. You have to run it down almost all the way, but it's sure worth it. All right, we got our snap ring on a retain ring or a spring, and let's see if I can remember which hole is the bottom one to blow these pistons out, because I always blow the inner one out and not the outer. It's always my luck. Just like I did. Let's see. That one there, and then this one. Nope. There you go. Now for future reference, so I can remember, I can look at my own video, the one right at the end, right above that hole. Okay. All right, we'll get the slings off of this and get her in the washer, and then we'll talk about the valve body, tell you what you have to do on every one of them, and most people don't like it. So, all right, let's get it in the wash. As you can see, we're ready to put this in the wash. We want to get it. What we want to do first is we want to clean the servo bore up. Have this bore buddy. You should do this on all your and any train you're doing on any servo. Clean this up really good. You want kind of a crisscross hatch mark in it. You don't want them shiny. Doesn't take much, and we're all cleaned up and we're ready to go. I'll get this stuff in the wash, the case and everything in the wash, and we'll start getting it back together. Now that I got the parts in the washer and they're going and getting clean, I usually go through the valve body at this time. With the RE5, it's a little different. Most of them have a radiator problem, which tends to leak a little bit of fluid into the transmission and kind of destroys it. I'm going to show you the valve body here and show you the damage. If you look at the valve body, you can see all the buildup of rust here. You can even see it on the bolts inside the filter. It's contaminated. But what happens is it contaminates the solenoids as well, and this is the computer for the transmission, and it gets in there and destroys that. So you can't really go through this valve body. There's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do, and what I would recommend on all of these RE5s, is replace it with a brand new one from Nissan. This is the only way to go. It has a computer, all new solenoids, new valve body. I would never ever reuse a valve body in here right now until they've come up with something a little bit better. They do have some fixes right now, but I would recommend not doing that. It's worth the money to get a new one. The only thing is, you will have to have the computer reflashed before you drive it. You will destroy the transmission if you do not. So you need, after it's installed, you need to have somebody come by and reflash it, or tow it to the dealership to get it reflashed, or the transmission will not work and you will burn it up. So, sorry we can't go through the valve body, but this is the best thing you can do. As you can see, I've got all my kit here. Got new steels, band, new bushing, all of it for it. We'll get this set up how I usually have it, but I want it all spread out. I will pre-soak all the clutches and the band. Remember, no matter what, always replace your bonded pistons. You wouldn't use the seals on an aluminum piston, would you? So you need to replace these every time. They do have kits out there without them, but I would not recommend it. So as soon as it gets out of the wash, we'll start getting it back together.